Hey guys, Adam Burns here, bringing it to you on credit score hacks and how to quickly increase your credit score. If you ever applied for any kind of credit, like a mortgage or a car loan, you know that the lender is going to check your credit report as a way of determining your credit risk and a way to decide if they're actually going to lend you the money that you're asking for. Having a good credit score unlocks better loan terms and gives the lender confidence in making that loan to you. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a credit counselor or a financial advisor. These are simply tips and tricks that I've picked up throughout my career that I'm sharing with you. I cannot guarantee that I'm actually going to be able to improve your credit score. So the first thing we need to understand is that most lenders use what is called a FICO score. And that FICO score is made up of 5 different parts. Those 5 parts are payment history, which makes up 35% of your score, credit usage, which makes up 30% of your score, age of credit accounts, which makes up 15% of your score, and credit mix, which makes up 10% of your score, and finally, new credit inquiries, which also makes up 10% of your score. So quick fun fact for you, FICO actually stands for the Fair Isaac Corporation, which is a software company founded in 1956 that actually pioneered the score. So let's take a look at each of these 5 factors and how they impact your credit score. The first we're going to look at is payment history, which is 35% of your score. Payment history is the largest of the 5 factors. This takes into account how good you are at staying on top of paying your bills. There's no shortcut here. Simply time and staying on top of those bills will contribute to a good score. So while there's no substitute for staying on top of and paying those bills, we do have a couple of ideas for you. First and foremost, most lenders offer automatic payment options. So take advantage of that so you don't have to worry every month about making your payment on time. You can set it and forget it. If you don't like the idea of setting up automatic payments and want to have more control over when that payment goes out, set a phone reminder in your calendar. This can remind you a couple days before the bill is due so that you can go in and make a manual payment and then never have to worry about just remembering or just receiving that bill. Credit usage, which is 30% of your score, is the second largest factor involved here. So this is easier for revolving lines of credit such as credit cards, but I have 2 tips for you here. So tip number 1 here, you can increase the limit on your existing credit cards to instantly decrease the percentage of credit that you're using and get a credit boost. It is always important to pay down your revolving lines of credit every single month, but this brings me to tip number 2. Instead of paying those down when the bill is actually due, pay them down the day before the bill gets issued. Reason being, this is the time of the month that your usage percentage gets reported to the credit bureaus. Because if your balance is 0, then your usage percentage is going to be as low as it can possibly be. If you don't have the money to be able to do this, and all else fails, try to keep your usage percentage below 30% of your available credit at least. The next factor is age of credit accounts, which relates to how long you've actually had credit extended to you. Never close out your oldest account. Even if it's some old store card that you never use anymore, keep the balance at 0 and keep it open, because that is defining the starting point of your credit history. And having long-standing credit accounts is how this portion of your credit score increases. So the 4th component of your credit score is your credit mix, which is only 10% of your score, but it is still important. To have strong credit, it's important to have a variety of different credit accounts, such as installment loans, like car loans, mortgages, retail accounts like store credit cards, and revolving lines of credit. Of course, I'm not telling you to go out there and open a store credit card at every store you shop at, but if you do need any of these accounts, it might be wise to have a small balance retail credit card at a store that you shop at frequently that you keep the balance low on. The same goes for car loans, which are installment loans. Even if you can pay cash for the car that you want to buy, it might actually improve your credit score to have a low balance car loan. So the 5th and final factor of your credit score is your new credit inquiries, which is also only 10% of your score. So always try to limit the number of inquiries on your account. An inquiry results when the lender you're applying for credit from looks at your credit profile. This is also commonly referred to as pulling your credit. If you need to apply for new credit and you're talking with multiple lenders to compare terms, ask all of those lenders to hold off on pulling your credit until you actually choose just one lender. That way, you only have one credit pull on your record. So you want to aim for 1 hard inquiry on your credit report or less per year. If you can't do this, don't despair. This is only 10% of your score, but it's still important for your overall credit health to have the lowest number of inquiries possible. If you want to have more control over this aspect of your credit, you can consider what's called a credit freeze. A credit freeze requires that you give express written permission to anybody asking to look at your credit profile. This will allow you to limit the number of people that are able to look at your credit report and limit the number of inquiries overall. So our credit score hack summary is this: set up automatic payments and reminders, increase your credit card and revolving line of credit balances, pay your revolving lines of credit ahead of time before the bill gets issued, never close out your oldest account, open a variety of accounts, avoid new inquiries if at all possible, and get a copy of your credit report, dispute any inaccuracies, and above all else, be patient. There's no substitute for a long positive payment history when we're talking about your credit score. As always, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more custom content like this, and we'll see you next time. Hey guys, Adam Burns here, and I'm with my lovely wife, Shelby. Like all of you, she has plenty of questions about real estate. So in this segment, we just finished watching the rough edit of our credit hacks episode, and I think that she's got some questions that all of you might be asking as well.
I do. So first question, I'm curious, how does your loan to income ratio impact your credit score? I've heard that it does, and it's not necessarily tied to a credit card. So I guess, does your loan to income ratio impact your credit score? And if so, how much? I'm thinking like school loans, for example.
I think that you're referring to debt to income ratio, or DTI, which is used in the underwriting process by a lender.
Okay.
That is another factor that lenders look at. So certain ratio that they look at to understand if you have the additional capital to service the debt. That does not necessarily impact your FICO score, which is what we were talking about in the episode.
Good. No, I just wanted to clarify. So as somebody who has a lot of loans from the banks to fund your different properties and investment ventures, that won't impact your credit score at all. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I wouldn't say that it wouldn't impact my credit score at all. I think having a lot of debt in general and a lot of high balance debt, because the total amount of the mortgage is close to the balance that's left on the mortgage.
Okay.
That does contribute, like we talked about in the episode, credit usage. So I have a lot of debt that's high usage by having mortgages with high balances proportional to the original mortgage balance.
Even though it's not on a credit card?
Even though it's not on a credit card. So it doesn't have to just be a credit card. It's mortgages, it's car payments, car loans.
All those.
It's all of those things that are reported to credit bureaus. My score gets offset by consistent payment history. So I have all my loans set up on auto pay, so they're always paying on time. I mentioned a lot of other credit hacks that I employ to make sure that I have good credit, and I'm focused on all the other arenas.
Okay. So I think an important question to ask, you said to make sure you have good credit. What is a good credit score? Or what should a minimum be? What should I be aiming for to have a good credit score?
It's hard to say. A lot of lenders have different thresholds and things that they look for. Anything over 700, I would say, is considered pretty good credit, or anything over 720 is considered pretty good credit and excellent credit. So I would say 700, 720 and above. Different credit bureaus have different ranges of credit, so it depends on the bureau again, but as long as you're aiming for the mid to high sevens or even into the eights, you're doing pretty good.
Okay. Have you seen anyone in the eights? Is it common or is that rare?
Fairly rare. We do see it from time to time, and we see it from applicants on our rental properties or guarantors, but it's definitely fewer and far between.
Okay.
What else?
So where can I find out what my credit score is?
Really good question. A lot of credit cards that people have these days actually have an online portal or service where you can look at your credit on a monthly basis.
And it won't impact my score if I go in and access it?
So if you do a hard inquiry on yourself, which is different from a soft inquiry, and we can get into the specifics of those another time that dives a little bit deeper than we have time for today.
Sure.
But if you're just looking at it through some of those services, no, they're not hard inquiries and they do not impact your credit score. So credit card might be one option.
Okay.
There's various credit websites that you can subscribe to where they'll give you regular credit updates. And then I'd say if you subscribe to something like a LifeLock, we both have LifeLock, obviously,
Yep.
which protects our identities, but that also has a credit score component where you can see an update of your credit score on a monthly basis as well.
And LifeLock isn't pulling our credit information to impact our score?
Nope, they monitor all of that though.
Awesome. And I think you said, though, even if if I were to do like a hard look into my credit, or somebody else was to pull that information, it would impact it about 10%?
So inquiries only make up 10% of your FICO score. It doesn't necessarily change it by 10% because you have more than one inquiry in a year. If you have one hard inquiry or less per year, it doesn't impact it at all. If you have more than that, it might have a marginal impact, like maybe a point or two.
On your score. Oh, awesome. That's really helpful to know. Thank you. Those are all the questions that I had.
Okay. Thanks so much.